Hello, Shangam second grade readers. It is Wednesday, April 22nd, and today I'm going to show you how to hold on to stories as the books we read get longer. And I touched base on it a little bit yesterday, but today I'm going to show you some more strategies of what you can do to make sure that you're holding on to the whole story. Remember we talked about that yesterday? So today I'm going to read you a chapter in one of my class's favorite books. It's called Dory Phantasmagorie, and I'm going to show you a strategy to use with this book so that you can hold on to more information. So before I start reading this, I want you to think about the story of Hansel and Gretel. And in the story Hansel and Gretel, they go into the woods, right? And they leave a trail of breadcrumbs so that they can find their way back out of the woods. When you're reading a longer story, you are going to essentially do the same thing, but instead of leaving a trail of breadcrumbs, you're going to leave a trail of Post-its. And you don't want to leave too many, because a book that has way too many Post-its inside of it is going to be way too confusing, and you're going to have more information than you know what to do with. But on the flip side of it, you don't want to leave too few Post-its, because then you won't really retain what it is you're trying to remember in the long story. So the first strategy I am going to talk about is leaving a Post-it at the end of each chapter if you're reading a chapter book. And you want to ask yourself, what was the main event in this chapter? And you're going to answer that question on a Post-it, and you're going to leave it at the end of each chapter in your book. Or what you could do is, if you have your reader's notebook at home, or if you have a notebook that you're using for reading, you can keep track of your Post-its there or write a note. But make sure you put the name of the book that you're reading, always put the date, and then I would say what chapter it is you're responding to, and keep it in a chronological order so that you can go back and review your notes, okay? So let's get started. Chapter 1 is called Such a Baby. Excuse me. My name is Dory, but everyone calls me Rascal. This is my family. I am the little kid. There she is. My sister's name is Violet, and my brother's name is Luke. Violet is the oldest. Violet and Luke never want to play with me. They say I'm a baby. Mom, Rascal is bothering us. What is she doing? Calls my mother. She's looking at us. She's breathing. All summer long, whenever I try to play with Luke and Violet, they say, please leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave. But I can't think of what to say. So I ask questions. Any question I can think of. What does please mean? Why do we have armpits? How do they make plastic? I can't wait for school to start so we can get a break from Rascal, says Violet. Me too, grumbles Luke. Don't talk about school. I cover my ears. I never want summer to end. I like to stay home in my nightgown instead of getting dressed for school. It's a winter nightgown, says Violet. And it's inside out, says Luke. And it's backwards, says Violet. So what? I say. So now that you turned 6, you need to stop acting like such a baby. Why do you always call me a baby? I complain. Because you talk to yourself, says Violet. And you have temper tantrums, says Luke. And you play with monsters, says Violet. Talk to myself? I have no idea what they're talking about. I never talk to myself. I talk to my friend Mary. No one can see her except me. Why do we have armpits? What an interesting question. Mary always wants to play with me. She thinks I'm the greatest. At night, Mary sleeps under my bed. What is the opposite of a sandwich? I've always wondered that. During the day, Mary follows me around. She wants to do whatever I'm doing. I usually don't mind, but sometimes I have to tell her no. Sorry, Mary, I'm playing with Violet. No, you aren't! Okay. Mary, what do you want to play? I ask. Here are some things Mary likes to do. Try and steal Violet's doll Cherry. Fake sleep. Sneak cookies from the high cabinet. Exercise club. Get dragged around the house in a laundry basket. Why are you talking to a laundry basket? Faster? Look for monsters. Mary is my favorite, but my house is actually full of monsters. There is the toilet monster who comes into the bathroom if you sit on the toilet for too long. There is the ketchup monster who makes weird noises when you squeeze the ketchup. There is also the laundry monster, the broken drawer monster, the vacuum monster, the upstairs hallway monster, the living room monster, and more. I try to warn Luke and Violet when I see one. Watch out! It's behind you! Ah! There's a monster in your underwear! Run! The vacuum monster is coming! But Luke and Violet don't appreciate it. Can you see why they wouldn't appreciate it? Rascal is driving me crazy! Yeah, me too. What are we going to do? Let's scare her back. I'll think of something. Think of something that will get her to stop acting like such a baby. I've got an idea. After dinner, Violet and Luke say they have something important to tell me. I follow them upstairs, skipping steps. I'm so excited. What can it be? Violet lets me sit on her bed. Maybe she will let me play with Cherry. Very slowly, Violet asks me, Rascal, have you ever heard of Mrs. Gobblegracker? I shake my head no. Well, Mrs. Gobblegracker is a robber, and she steals baby girls, says Violet. And she is 507 years old and has very sharp teeth, adds Luke. And well, says Violet, you're going to be really surprised when I tell you this. What? I say. I'm dying to know. She's been looking for you, she says quickly. Are you serious? I ask. Dead serious, she says. Mrs. Gobblegracker is looking for me? I say in amazement. Shh, says Luke. She's so scary, you have to whisper when you say her name. Like this, Mrs. Gobblegracker. So if I were you, I would stop acting like such a baby. So she doesn't come and get you, says Violet. For a moment, I'm quiet. This is a lot to think about. Luke and Violet stare at me as if they're waiting for me to cry. How will she get into the house? Does she come in the front door? Will she ring the doorbell? I ask them. Before they answer, I have some more questions. Is she sneaky? Will I have to battle her? Does she wear a long black cape? Is it made out of fur? Is it real fur or fake fur? Are her teeth rotting? Does she brush them? Does she have a really creepy looking nose? Does she have a cat? Does she live in a cave? Does she have a really long bones? We don't know! Leave us alone! They shout, shaking their heads and walking away fast. I follow Luke and Violet around the house. Oh my gosh. What have we done? Says Luke, covering his ears. Is she a vegetarian? Does she vote? Is she nocturnal? Does she like ice cream? Does she like anything? Is she powerful? Does she have a cell phone? Does she eat rubber chickens? This is the worst idea we've ever had, says Violet, trying to get away from me. Ever, says Luke. Ever, ever, ever. I don't even want to know what happens next, says Violet. So this is the end of this chapter, and I want to ask myself, what was the main event of that chapter? Now, it's a longer chapter because it's a longer book. So I want to think about the characters, right? I know that there's Rascal, her sister Violet, and her brother Luke. Those are the main characters we've been introduced to so far. There's also her monster Mary that is imaginary, that she talks to and plays with all the time, but which is also why her brother and sister think she's a baby. So what I did is I wrote down, I jotted on my Post-it here, and it says, Rascal is the youngest of 3 siblings. Her older siblings, Luke and Violet, can't stand how babyish she is, so they make up a character to scare Rascal, but it backfires on them. Short and sweet, there's not a lot on here, but it helps me understand and remember what this chapter was mostly about. So I'm going to add this Post-it to the end of chapter 1, right here like this, so that I can keep track of it. Now, I'm going to switch my screen so that you can see some strategies to help you with this as well. So we started talking about how we want to stop at the end of a chapter when we are trying to keep track of longer books. So we're going to stop at the end of the chapter. We are going to write a Post-it about what that chapter was mostly about. What was the main event in that chapter? And then here are 2 other strategies to help you keep track of longer books. The first thing is to ask someone for help. Now, this is where I want you to either in your morning meetings with your classrooms in that chat section or on Seesaw, post something in there. Ask your friends, what are they reading? And maybe somebody is reading the same book as you are. And if they are, you can talk to each other and ask each other for help in terms of remembering what's going on, also in terms of helping you understand what's happening. They can help with what they think is happening in the book, and you can talk about it, and that will help you keep track and understand. The other thing is to determine what is important. When we are at the end, like I did at the end of my chapter, I don't want every itty-bitty detail of the book. It would take forever, or of the chapter. It takes way too long, and that's not the idea. We only want to highlight the major events in the story. Too many itty-bitty details are going to have your brain be all crazy and whatnot. So really try to focus on just the main events that are happening in the chapter that you're reading at the time. And then the other thing to determine is the problem that the character faces and how they're going to deal with it. Now, in the first chapter, that might not be so relevant. You might not be able to do that yet. So try and, after a few chapters, think about that question there. What problem is the character facing? So in this first chapter of Dory Phantasmagory, the siblings, Violet and Luke, the problem they're facing is their annoying sister, Rascal. So they devise a solution to create this fake character that's going to come and steal their sister unless she stops acting like a baby. However, it backfires them. So we're going to have to keep reading to see how they're going to face the problem that they now have created, right? Today, read your books. Use this to help you keep track of those longer books, and make sure that you're writing a Post-it at the end of each chapter or at the end of a section so that you can keep track of what is happening in your story. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.